Hi everyone, this is Mallory Fields and this is my persuasive speech. So for today, I will be doing the question, do movies, documentaries, and television shows about serial killers glorify murderers and inspire other killers? So my opinion on this question is no, that they do not inspire murderers and killers, because I think that serial killers are already just mentally ill because of how they grew up or how they live their life or whatever. Because if you grow up in a abusive household and you're neglected, abused, even raped, anything like that, it can cause you to be angry and have that built up rage and inspire you to go out and start killing people. So I believe that they're just already mentally ill, and they can either be attention seeking, or it can be caused by anger, like I said, or the thrill of it. So some people get off on the thrill of killing people. So I went ahead and researched some big name serial killers, and I'm going to share some facts that I learned about them that'll kind of help with this topic a little bit. So the first one that I researched was Ted Bundy, which is a really big named serial killer. So he started killing in 1974 and ended in 1978, and he killed all the way through Oregon, Colorado, Utah, and Florida. And he admitted to 28 different murders, but people like to believe that he murdered like hundreds of times, so we're really not even sure how many murders he committed. And serial killers also usually have a type that they like to go after. Some don't. Some will just kill anything that walks in their path, but some do have a type, and the ones that I researched have a type. So Ted Bundy's type was college-aged women with long dark hair, and he killed those women and girls on college campuses or around college campuses, stuff like that. And he dealt with rage, which I believe was his trigger. And he also liked to have control over his victims, and he was sexually aroused by the torture that he did to them. And then murder was his final, satisfying way of power. So that was his final straw. Once he tortured them and did that, that was already his thrill, his, what he enjoyed. But murdering them was his final thing. He was he enjoyed it. So he just kept doing it until he got caught. And then the next serial killer that I researched was Jeffrey Dahmer. He's another big name serial killer. And he was also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, because he actually ate some of his victims. And his type was men and boys. He killed 17 men and boys, and they were mostly gay, or they had ethnic minorities. They were ethnic minorities. So that was his type. And I'm not exactly sure why he started killing, what his trigger was, but I did see that some of what he did to them, he was obsessed with the fact of wanting to turn them into zombies, because he would pour acid into their head, and it would turn them into a zombie or something. He was infatuated with that. So that's why he kept killing, and he did that with some of his victims. But not only was he a cannibal, but he also raped some of his victims, and he kidnapped, and he also kept some of their body parts. So some of his victims, he actually kept some of their heads, and then some other body parts he kept. And Stephen Hicks was actually his first victim, and he was 19 years old whenever he kidnapped him. He was actually a hitchhiker whenever he picked him up off the side of the road. And Jeffrey Dahmer, actually, his way of like luring his victims in was to tell them like, oh, we're gonna go back to my place and drink, or like, we're gonna go back to my place and do this. Like, he was very in tune with his kills. Like, he would lure his victims in. So that was Jeffrey Dahmer. And then I also went ahead and researched one more. His name was Harold Shipman. He was actually a doctor, and he killed over 250 patients. And he injected them with lethal doses of painkillers. That's how he killed his victims. And he didn't get caught very easily because, you know, you being a doctor and murdering people, it's very hard to like figure that out. So that's how he did that. And his trigger, I'm assuming, is because of his mother's death. It said he wanted to like avenge his mother because I think his mother died from a doctor. So I think that was his trigger. But yeah, serial killers, they don't always have a reason to kill. Like I said, you know, most of them have triggers, and it really depends on how you grew up, how you go about your life, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, people can enjoy TV shows and documentaries about serial killers and not become a serial killer. Because, you know, there's shows out there, like I like Criminal Minds and stuff like that, and I'm not out here killing people. So I just think it really has to deal with how you grow up and how you mentally are, because some people just are not mentally stable, and that on top of, you know, being abused and all that kind of stuff, it can really weigh on a person. So that's why I believe serial killers are not inspired by movies, documentaries, and television shows. So I hope this helps a little bit about that question, and I hope you learned a little more about some serial killers and how they were inspired and triggered to start killing people. Thank you.